My wife accidentally sent me her Vegas flight confirmation with another man. I didn't confront her. I waited. By the time she landed, I'd cut off every dollar she had, leaving her stranded 1,700 miles from home. Hey Reddit, it's been a while since I posted anything, but let's just say life handed me a plot twist I never saw coming. Thought I was in a stable marriage, 7 years deep, mortgage, the usual grind, until one small mistake from her changed everything. What followed wasn't some dramatic movie scene, just quiet planning, a few strategic moves, and the kind of ending you don't expect but absolutely deserve. Buckle up. This one's wild. It happened on a Wednesday morning. I, 35 male, was at my desk, half awake, scrolling through work emails when a new notification popped up on my screen. Your flight confirmation. Las Vegas, 2 passengers. At first, I thought it was spam. Then I saw the sender's name, Cassandra, my wife. I opened it and stared at the details. 2 tickets, round trip. Vegas passenger 1, Cassandra Dalton. Passenger 2, Keith Walsh. She'd accidentally CC'd me. For a solid 10 seconds, I just stared at the screen, rereading it like maybe it would change the fourth or fifth time. Nope. Same details, same dates, same Keith Walsh. Then I laughed. Not the crazy kind. More like that dry, quiet laugh when your brain's processing too much at once. Cassandra, my wife of 7 years, had just booked a Vegas getaway with another man and accidentally sent the receipt to me. I didn't delete it. I archived it. Receipt number, confirmation code, flight times, all saved. Then I did something that most guys probably wouldn't. Absolutely nothing. I didn't call her. I didn't storm into the kitchen demanding answers. I went on with my morning like nothing happened. Because that's the thing about people like Cassandra. They're predictable when they think they're in control. Our marriage, on paper, looked fine. We had a good house, decent jobs, no kids, 2 cars, and a shared credit setup. Primary plus authorized user. I was the primary. She was the authorized. She loved that card. The one with the shiny silver finish she'd flash at brunch like it was proof of her financial independence. But the truth was, all her spending power came from me. I paid the bills. I handled the accounts. She just used them. She never noticed I got alerts for every large purchase, the kind she'd make after Pilates. Speaking of Pilates, that was her latest obsession. Pilates, yoga, girls' nights, and suddenly hanging out with people I'd never heard of. Her old friends had real jobs and lives. These new ones seemed like ghosts. Always Aubrey this and Chelsea that. I never met either of them. The thing is, Cassandra was always a little self-absorbed. She'd call it confidence. I called it delusion. She genuinely believed the world bent around her, that she could do whatever she wanted and people would just accept it. I opened my banking app, looked at the list of active cards, and smiled. She had no idea how much control I actually had. She thought being authorized made her equal. It didn't. It made her dependent. That email changed everything. When she came downstairs later, dressed in her work outfit and holding her iced coffee like a trophy, I played along. Morning, she said casually, pecking me on the cheek. Big day today. I've got a client lunch at 2. Busy, huh? I said. Try not to max the card before dinner. She smirked. Funny. I smiled back. Calm, even polite. She had no idea I already had her Vegas itinerary saved in a hidden folder on my desktop. Later that day, I forwarded the email to my personal account, printed it, and filed it away in a plain envelope labeled house stuff. That's what she always called anything she didn't want to deal with. House stuff, work stuff, money stuff. Ironic how those were the same things keeping her life together. That night, I noticed she was extra nice. Made my favorite dinner. Laughed a little too loud. Kissed my cheek twice. Probably guilt. Or maybe she was testing how much she could get away with. Either way, I let her. When she went to bed, I stayed downstairs. Opened my laptop, checked the confirmation again. Vegas, 2 weeks away. The hotel confirmation was in the same email thread. Under Keith's last name, 1 king bed, 2 guests. No mention of any girls' weekend anywhere in sight. I started a new folder on my computer. Cassandra, backup. Inside, I saved screenshots of every document. Step by step, I started quietly building an escape plan. Not out of emotion, but logic. Because when people like Cassandra cheat, they assume you'll blow up. They count on it. They expect tears, shouting, chaos. They never expect silence. Before I went to bed, I looked at her sleeping on the other side, perfectly still, peaceful, clueless. I thought about how easy it was for her to pretend. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not now, not yet. I was going to watch, learn, prepare. She wanted Vegas? She could have it. But when she got there, she was going to find out what happens when you build your whole life on someone else's dime, and then forget who holds the account. This time, Cassandra wouldn't just lose my trust. She'd lose everything that depended on it. The next morning, I called Carrington, my friend who happened to be a lawyer downtown. He'd always joked that I was too patient for my own good. Turns out patience was about to pay off. Carrington, hypothetically, I said over coffee, if someone's spouse accidentally sent them proof of an affair, what's the smart first move? He didn't even hesitate. Secure your finances. Quietly. Don't tip her off until you've got leverage. That word, leverage, stuck in my head. I'd always played the calm husband, the dependable one. Cassandra saw that as weakness. She was about to find out it wasn't. That afternoon, during lunch at my office, I opened a new private checking account in my name only. I didn't move everything at once. That would have raised alarms. Instead, I started transferring small, forgettable amounts from the joint account over a few days. 50 here, 200 there. Enough to look like grocery runs or gas charges. Next, I adjusted the limits on her authorized card. I lowered her daily limit just a notch, enough to keep things looking normal so nothing would decline, while I quietly tightened everything behind the scenes. She kept swiping like nothing changed, not realizing she was slowly losing access to everything. I even tested it. I bought lunch using the main account, then opened her card app and set a temporary block for an hour. Right after that, she texted me, "Hey, weird question. Is the bank acting up again?" My card declined at Target. I waited a few seconds, toggled the block off, and replied, maybe try again later. 2 minutes later, she said it worked. She didn't even ask after that. No suspicion. Just shrugged it off like she always did when technical stuff happened. That's when I realized how easy this was going to be. Later that week, she had what she called book club night, her favorite excuse lately. The same group of girls she apparently discussed novels with, but never brought any books home from. She was getting ready in the mirror, humming, doing her makeup like she was heading to an audition. New perfume, heels that didn't look book club appropriate. "Where's it at this time?" I asked casually. "Chelsea's," she said. "Don't wait up. It might go late. We're talking about that memoir I told you about." "Oh yeah," I said. "The one about boundaries and self-love?" She smiled in the mirror like I'd complimented her intelligence. "Exactly. See? You remember." When she left, I sat down on the couch, pulled up Instagram, and typed Chelsea. Her most tagged friend popped up instantly. Top post, 15 minutes old. A photo of palm trees and a caption. "Florida sunsets hit different." Florida! Not even in the same time zone. I scrolled through a few more stories. Hotel pool selfies, beach cocktails, sun hats. Definitely not the location of any book club. So, Cassandra was lying again. Nothing new. What mattered was how I responded. I stared at the message thread with her for a second, then typed, "Drive safe," 3 dots. Then a heart emoji popped up. That was all I needed. She still thought I was in the dark. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened, kissed my cheek, made herself coffee, and started rambling about how her book club might take a break soon, because everyone was so busy. Busy, right? That weekend, she brought up the Vegas trip. She waited until I was half distracted with the TV to drop it, like it was casual. "So, the girls are planning a weekend in Vegas next month," she said, leaning against the counter. "Just 2 nights. Spa, shows, pool. Nothing crazy." I muted the TV. "Sounds fun. You should go." Her eyes lit up. That fake surprised expression she used whenever things went too smoothly. "Really? You're okay with it?" "Sure," I said, smiling faintly. "You deserve it. You've been so stressed lately." That one line sold the act. She relaxed instantly, like she'd just convinced a security guard she had a valid pass. For the next 2 weeks, I let her prepare. She shopped for new clothes, got her nails done, started talking about packing light. Every time she mentioned Vegas, I nodded, half listening, like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. Meanwhile, I finalized my own checklist. Private account, done. Card limits, set. My half of the joint savings, quietly moved. Legal documents, copied. The last thing I did was buy a small notebook. On the cover, I wrote one word: timeline. I documented everything. Not because I needed proof for court, though it'd help, but because it made the plan real. I went upstairs that night and found her suitcase half packed on the bed. Swimsuits, new dresses, makeup, a book she'd probably never read. The props of a woman pretending her life was under control. She thought she was running a game, but the difference was, I had already written the ending. Once she landed in Vegas, Cassandra was going to find out what it felt like to live without the comfort of someone cleaning up her messes. The countdown had started. Friday morning, 7:12 a.m. Cassandra was already in full performance mode, smiling, humming, moving around the house like she was heading to a dream vacation. Not a setup. She had her luggage out, a coffee in hand, and that fake cheerful tone people use when they think they're untouchable. "Can you believe I actually get a weekend to relax?" she said, adjusting her sunglasses in the mirror. "Just me and the girls. Spa, shows, maybe a little shopping." "Sounds great," I said, keeping my voice calm and casual. "You deserve it." She grinned, like she'd won something. "You're the best. You know that?" I nodded, watching her check her phone between every sentence, probably waiting for a text from Keith. "Can you call me an Uber?" she asked, pretending to rummage for her charger. The app's acting weird. We'd planned that I'd drive her myself, but she pivoted that morning and wanted an Uber instead. "Sure thing." I opened mine and booked it without hesitation. She didn't notice the slight smirk on my face when I entered the destination, O'Hare International. She wheeled her suitcase toward the door, all smiles and perfume. "I'll text you when we land," she chirped. "I'll be waiting," I said. The Uber driver honked once outside. She leaned in, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Don't miss me too much." "Oh, I won't," I said with a small grin. She didn't catch the tone. She just laughed, waved, and walked out the door like she was starring in her own movie. As soon as the car turned out of the driveway, I closed the door, pulled out my phone, and opened the flight tracker. Her flight to Vegas departed at 9 a.m. sharp. I had about 2 hours before showtime. While she was waiting at the gate, probably texting Keith about seat upgrades and pool plans, I was at my desk reviewing my checklist. Private account, secure. Evidence folder, backed up. Legal contact, ready. Final step, financial shutdown. At 9:04, her plane took off. I watched the blue dot inch across the map. Every mile west was another step toward her lesson. When the tracker finally said, "Landed, Las Vegas, Nevada," I took a breath, opened the banking app, and started the operation. First, her authorized card. I clicked Freeze Account. A tiny confirmation pop-up appeared. "Are you sure?" Yes, I was sure. Then I went to our joint checking. I changed the online banking password, removed her mobile access, and quietly moved my half into my private account. After that, I updated the digital wallet, wiped her from Apple Pay, and shut down the backup card she thought was hers. It took less than 10 minutes. 7 years of financial control, gone from her fingertips with a few taps. I leaned back in my chair, opened my text messages, and typed slowly, "Hope you and Keith enjoy Vegas. Send." I locked my phone and waited. 5 minutes later, buzz. Then again. Then nonstop. First came the texts. "What are you talking about? Wait, what did you do? My card isn't working. This isn't funny." Then the calls started, one after another. I didn't answer any of them. I just watched her name light up the screen, watched it fade, then light up again. By the 5th missed call, I got another message. "You don't understand. It's a mix-up. Please pick up." Mix-up. That was her word for everything she couldn't explain. Then another text came through, longer this time. "I'm at the hotel. They're saying my card got declined. Keith's trying to figure it out. Just tell me what's happening. Please." Keith's trying to figure it out. Interesting choice of words. 10 minutes later, another message. "Did you freeze the account? Why would you do that? I'm stranded here." I took a sip of coffee, calm as ever, and replied, "You'll figure it out. You're good at pretending, remember?" After that, I silenced the notifications. An hour passed before curiosity got the better of me. I reopened the messages. There were over 40. The tone changed from anger to panic. "Please, I can't even book a flight back. Keith's card isn't working either. I need help, please." Later, I found out why. He'd been putting personal charges on his company card. The hotel flagged it and refused it for non-business use. Perfect timing. I pictured her standing there in that over-the-top designer outfit, realizing her backup plans were crumbling. Keith probably looked just as shocked. Two people who built their whole little fantasy on other people's money, now stuck in a hotel lobby with useless cards. Eventually, she stopped calling. Maybe she finally accepted I wasn't coming to the rescue. Maybe she was too busy begging Keith for help. For the first time in weeks, I felt light, like all the noise had gone silent. Around 3 p.m., my phone buzzed again. This time a new message. "I'm coming home. I can explain everything." No, you can't, I thought. Not anymore. That night, while she scrambled to find a flight back, I sat in my recliner watching the same little blue tracker line move east again. Every mile closer wasn't her returning home. It was her walking straight into the consequences she thought she'd never face. By the time that plane landed, Cassandra wasn't coming back to her husband. She was coming back to a man who had already finished the game she didn't even realize she was playing. And for the first time since that accidental email, I smiled. Not because she was hurt, but because everything was finally in motion. Meanwhile, in Vegas, Cassandra's fantasy trip was falling apart faster than her fake book club stories. Funny enough, one of my old college buddies worked security at that same hotel. He texted me later, said he'd watched a woman who looked exactly like Cassandra melt down at check-in after her card got declined. She argued with the guy she was with. Then he walked out and left her standing there. Guess the universe likes sending me updates. From what my friend saw, Keith wasn't some charming getaway partner. Just another broke guy with an ego problem who bailed the second things got real. My friend said they argued in the lobby. She pressed him to cover it. He pushed back about budgets. Then he walked out and left her standing there. So much for Vegas luxury. By 3 p.m., Cassandra was in full panic mode, calling banks, trying to reach me, crying in hotel bathrooms. But when the primary account holder, that's me, freezes everything, customer service can't help you. After her 10th failed call to me, she switched targets. Her mother, her mom, Margaret, was a tight-fisted woman who still complained about lending Cassandra money for her wedding hair 7 years ago. Cassandra knew the call was going to be brutal, but she had no choice. He later caught snippets of a call to her mom, accusations about gambling, Cassandra insisting it was a misunderstanding, and Margaret finally wiring just enough for a one-way flight, with plenty of strings attached. By the time the wire transfer went through, Cassandra was emotionally wrecked, humiliated, broke, and furious. The glamorous Vegas adventure she bragged about for weeks ended with a middle seat on a budget airline and a mother who wouldn't stop reminding her she was a disappointment. While all that chaos unfolded 1,700 miles away, I was having a remarkably peaceful day. I took my time, ate breakfast, fed the dog, then sat down with a cup of coffee. Then I called Carrington. "You ready?" he asked. "More than ready," I said. "Good. Bring the documents by today, and we'll file." By noon, I was downtown, sitting across from him in his office as we reviewed everything one last time. The man was grinning like he'd just watched a live episode of Poetic Justice. "You've covered every base," he said, flipping through the file. "No joint property risk, clean financial separation, documented proof of infidelity. This'll be quick." "Good," I said. I like quick. As we finished signing, my phone buzzed on the desk. 20 new messages from Cassandra, none opened. "Still stranded?" Carrington asked. "Probably boarding," I said. "Flying coach. On her mom's dime." He chuckled. "You're enjoying this." "Not enjoying," I said, standing up. "Just finishing what she started." By the time I got home, it was evening. I'd made dinner, cleaned the kitchen, and was halfway through a movie when the door opened. Cassandra stepped inside like she was returning from a battlefield. Her hair was a mess, makeup smudged, and her suitcase dragged behind her with a broken wheel. She dropped it hard enough to rattle the floor. "How could you do that to me?" she snapped. I muted the TV. "Do what? Stop funding your vacations? You left me stranded," she yelled. "I had no money, no way home, nothing." "You had Keith," I said calmly. "What happened to him?" Her face twitched. He couldn't help. His card wasn't working either." I said. "Sounds familiar." "That's not funny," she cried, voice cracking. "You ruined my life." "No," I said, standing up slowly. "You ruined it yourself. I just stopped covering it up." Tears started rolling down her face, but I didn't move toward her. I'd seen that act before. "It was a mistake," she said softly. "I got carried away. It didn't mean anything." "Was that before or after you booked plane tickets in his name?" I asked. She froze. "Or maybe during those fake book club nights when you were at his place. I've got receipts for those too." Her jaw dropped. "You were spying on me?" "No, you were just sloppy," I said. "Emails, credit charges, travel confirmations. You practically did my homework for me." She started sobbing harder, the kind that used to make me feel guilty. This time it sounded like background noise. Then she whispered, "Please don't tell his wife." I tilted my head. "Funny you mentioned that." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "I already did." She went completely still. "You didn't." "I did," I said, grabbing my phone from the counter. "Sabrina Walsh, divorce attorney, smart woman. She's handling it beautifully." Her face went white. She covered her mouth with her hands, like she could physically hold back the panic. "What did she say?" "She thanked me," I said. "Apparently she's been suspicious for a while. She's not wasting time, either." Cassandra sat down on the couch like her knees gave out. For once, she didn't have a comeback or a lie ready. Her voice came out small. I just wanted to feel happy again. You could have done that without wrecking our marriage, I said. But you wanted excitement. Well, now you've got it. She looked up at me, eyes red, mascara running. What happens now? Now, I said, walking toward the stairs. Now I move on. You figure out the rest. I left her sitting there, crying, shaking, muttering something about how Keith wasn't answering her calls. By the time I reached the top step, I could hear her sob quietly into her hands. She came home looking for sympathy. What she found was accountability. The next few days were like watching a slow-motion collapse, one that didn't even need my help anymore. Cassandra was spiraling. She stayed in the guest room for 2 nights, crying loud enough for the neighbors to hear, then finally packed up and left to clear her head. I didn't ask where she was going. I already knew. She'd probably run to her mom's. By the 3rd day, my phone buzzed with a new text from an unknown number. I hope you're happy. Mom won't stop yelling at me about the money. She says she wants it back today. Of course she did. Margaret didn't even let her daughter borrow a casserole dish without collateral. Later that afternoon, I got another message. Can we at least talk like adults? I'm trying to make things right. I ignored it. She wasn't trying to make things right. She was trying to survive the consequences. While Cassandra was getting hounded for repayment, the rest of the dominoes started falling, specifically on Keith Walsh. See, when I told Sabrina the truth, I figured she'd leave him quietly. I underestimated her. Sabrina was a divorce lawyer, and not just a decent one, a relentless one. Within 48 hours of our call, she'd opened a file, preserved statements, and kicked off an internal audit request with his employer. Turns out Mr. Yoga Studio Romeo had been using company funds for personal trips, Vegas included. A week later, he was officially suspended. After that, Sabrina moved fast. She filed for divorce, citing adultery, financial misconduct, and breach of trust. She locked down the house, most of the liquid assets, and secured temporary primary custody of their kids. By the time the final decree was signed, Keith was left with almost nothing, just the consequences he earned. I didn't hear any of this from Cassandra. I heard it from Sabrina herself. She called to thank me. Honestly, she said, her tone sharp and satisfied, you did me a favor. I'd suspected for months. Now I have everything I need. I told her she didn't owe me anything. Oh, I know, she replied, but I'll still send you a thank you card once I'm done taking his last dollar. She wasn't joking. The next morning, my phone started ringing again, this time with an unfamiliar area code. Miami. I answered, curious. Hello? A sharp breath. You think you're clever, huh? Keith? Depends who's asking, I said. You ruined my life, he snapped. You had no right to call my wife. Actually, I said, leaning back in my chair, I had every right. You were sleeping with mine. It wasn't like that. Oh, so it was a different kind of affair? Enlighten me. He went silent for a moment. I could hear background noise. Maybe a hotel room, maybe a friend's couch. You don't understand, he finally said. Sabrina's taking everything. My job's gone. My accounts are frozen. Wow, I said flatly. That sounds awful. Can't imagine what that feels like. You set me up. No, I said. You set yourself up. I just turned on the lights. He started shouting again, but I hung up before he could finish. That was the last time I ever answered his call. Later that week, Cassandra showed up at the house again, unannounced. I saw her car pull into the driveway. Her mom was in the passenger seat, yelling about interest before Cassandra even got out. Margaret followed her daughter up the path, still scolding. You said you'd pay me back. I'm not a charity, Cassandra. I will, Mom. Can you just give me 5 minutes to breathe? Margaret crossed her arms. 5 minutes, then I'm coming in. I stood there watching, arms folded, as Cassandra turned toward me. Her face was pale, hair messy, eyes red, like she hadn't slept in days. We need to talk, she said softly. About what? I asked. About us. I raised an eyebrow. Us ended the moment you booked 2 tickets to Vegas. I made a mistake. Yeah, I said. You made several. She stepped closer, trying to sound sincere. Can't we at least sit down? You were my best friend once. I almost laughed. Your best friend? You mean the guy who paid for everything while you played house with someone else? Tears welled up again, but I didn't flinch. Please, she said. I just want to talk things out. Maybe counseling, or just a second chance. Counseling, I repeated. Cassandra, you didn't want to fix anything. You just want someone else to clean it up. You always have. She looked like I'd punched her, but it was the truth. Her voice cracked. I didn't think you'd actually go through with this. That's because you never thought I'd stop protecting you. She nodded slowly, turned back toward the car, and muttered something to her mom. Margaret didn't even try to comfort her, just kept reminding her about the money. I watched them drive off. She'd gambled our marriage on someone who didn't even cover her hotel bill. By evening, I got a text from Sabrina. Just one sentence. He signed everything. Thank you again. I stared at it for a moment, then typed back, glad to hear it. That night, sitting in the quiet, I realized something. The version of me Cassandra thought she could manipulate, the calm, forgiving pushover, was gone. She might still try to reach that man someday, but he doesn't exist anymore. She killed him the same day she hit send on that accidental email. It was a Tuesday morning, slow at first. I was finishing up some reports when my receptionist's voice crackled through the intercom. There's a woman here asking for you. Says it's urgent. Describe her, I said. She's crying, or maybe sweating. It's hard to tell. She said her name's Cassandra. Of course she did. Send her in, I said. A few seconds later, Cassandra marched through the glass door like a storm that didn't know where to land. Her eyes were swollen, her hair a mess, and she clutched her purse like it contained the last of her pride. We need to talk, she said, voice trembling but loud enough for the office to hear. Heads were already turning over cubicle walls. I stood up slowly. You can make it quick. Some of us actually have jobs to keep. She flinched but didn't back down. I know you're angry. Angry? I cut her off. Cassandra, that would require me to care. She blinked fast, trying to pull herself together. I just want to talk privately. I nodded toward the conference room down the hall. Fine. 5 minutes. After that, I have real work. Once inside, she shut the door behind her. The glass walls gave us just enough privacy, but not enough for her to scream without people noticing. I could tell that bothered her. She always needed an audience. She started with the begging. Please, we can fix this. I made mistakes, but everyone deserves forgiveness. I leaned against the table, arms crossed. Forgiveness is earned, not refunded. Then came the flirting. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like she thought that still worked. You can't tell me you don't still love me. 7 years doesn't disappear overnight. You're right, I said. It disappeared over a few months, right around when you started lying about yoga classes. Her fake composure cracked. You're cruel. You've turned into someone I don't even recognize. Good, I said flatly. That's the point. Then came the threats. If you go through with this divorce, you'll regret it. You'll be alone, bitter, and everyone will think you abandoned me. I gave a short laugh. You mean they'll know I stopped paying for your vacations? I'll risk it. Her face twisted. You think this is funny? I think it's overdue. She paced the room like a caged animal. Keith meant nothing, okay? It wasn't serious. And then you blew up a marriage for a hobby, I said. She spun back toward me. Fine. You want honesty? There were others before him. That stopped even me for a second. Not because it hurt. I'd run out of that weeks ago. But because she said it so casually. Like she was daring me to flinch. I didn't. You're not confessing, I said quietly. You're bargaining. Her mouth opened, then closed again. The silence that followed was heavy, and for the first time she looked nervous. Then came the knock on the door. Miles from Carrington's process service vendor stepped in, holding a sealed manila envelope. Mr. Dalton, he said politely, Carrington asked me to deliver this in person. He looked at Cassandra. Mrs. Dalton? She frowned. Yes? He handed her the envelope. You've been officially served. Her hands froze mid-motion. You're serving me? Here? In my office seemed appropriate, I said. Less travel time. Through the glass, a few coworkers had started pretending to be busy while definitely watching. Cassandra's face went pale as she flipped through the first page, realizing what it was, the divorce petition and summons. You can't do this, she said weakly. I already did, I replied. Her voice broke. You'll regret this. I swear you will. I tilted my head. Regret? I just upgraded my life plan. Her lips trembled, and for a second I thought she might cry again. But instead she snapped. You'll be nothing without me, she shouted, voice echoing through the glass walls. I gave a calm half-smile. Cassandra, you've mistaken chaos for importance your whole life. You didn't make me, you just slowed me down. Security appeared at the door, looking unsure. Sir? It's fine, I said. She was just leaving. Cassandra glared at me one last time, then grabbed her purse and stormed out. The office stayed silent for a full 10 seconds after the door slammed shut. Miles lingered, clearing his throat. Do you, want me to tell Mr. Carrington? Yeah, I said, sitting back at my desk. Tell him to proceed. He nodded and left quietly. I leaned back in my chair, the noise of keyboards and phones fading into the background. For the first time, there was no guilt, No anger, no hesitation, just relief. She thought showing up would shake me, maybe pull out the old version of me that used to chase after her tears. Instead, she walked right into a reminder that the man she manipulated no longer existed. That chapter was closed, sealed, stamped, and filed. 6 months later, my life looked completely different. Not just cleaner, but quieter. The kind of quiet that feels like oxygen after years of holding your breath. The divorce was finalized the week before. I got to keep the house, the savings, and most importantly, my peace. Carrington called it a surgical win. I called it closure. Cassandra didn't take it as well. She'd moved back in with her mom, Margaret, which was poetic justice all by itself. Apparently, Margaret hadn't stopped reminding her about the Vegas money she loaned. My guess? Cassandra was reminded at least twice a day. Keith, on the other hand, was a wreck. Sabrina had gutted him like a professional. He lost his job after the company audit proved he used business funds for personal trips, Vegas being the final nail. Sabrina kept the house, most of the liquid accounts, and primary custody of the kids. The audit did the rest. The last I heard, he was sleeping in a friend's garage. And Cassandra? Keith had ghosted her completely after the fallout. No goodbye text, no, we'll figure this out, nothing. The man she risked everything for didn't even stick around to watch her fall. It would have been poetic enough to end there. But Cassandra wasn't done writing her own disasters. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was outside, mowing the lawn, music playing through my earbuds, when I saw a car pull into the driveway. Silver Toyota, her mother's. My stomach sank, not because I cared, but because I already knew the nonsense coming my way. The car door slammed, and there she was, Cassandra, wearing sunglasses and a shaky fake smile, walking up the path like she still had a right to be there. I turned off the mower. "You're trespassing," I said, not even pretending to be polite. She pulled off her sunglasses. "I just need 5 minutes. You used those up about 6 months ago." She ignored that and stepped closer. "I'm pregnant." I didn't react. I'd learned that silence made her nervous. "I said," she continued, her voice trembling slightly, "I'm pregnant, and we need to talk about what this means for us." I looked her dead in the eye. "For us, there is no us. And if you're implying it's mine, you better have a DNA test in hand." Her confidence cracked immediately. "You don't believe me?" I laughed once. "You cheated for months, booked flights under fake names, and lied about yoga classes. But sure, now I'm supposed to trust your word?" She folded her arms, trying to regain control. "You shouldn't need a test. You should know me better than that." "Oh, I do," I said. "That's why I need a test." Her jaw tightened. "You're unbelievable." "No, Cassandra," I said, stepping closer, voice low and calm. "You're unbelievable. You came here after everything you did, thinking I'd just, what? Move you back in? Pretend the last year didn't happen? You burned every bridge you ever built, and now you're shocked there's nowhere left to stand." She tried to keep her voice steady. "This isn't about the past. It's about the baby." "Then go find out who the father is," I said flatly. Her lips trembled, the fake confidence melting away. "You're heartless." "I'm consistent," I said. She stood there, eyes glossy, like she wanted to cry again, but couldn't tell if it would work. Old Cassandra might have pulled sympathy out of me. This one just looked desperate. "I'm not leaving until we talk," she said finally. "Then I'll make it simple." I pulled my phone out of my pocket. "You have 10 seconds to get off my property, or I call the police. Your choice." Her eyes widened. "You wouldn't." I started counting. 10. "Don't do this." 9. She took a shaky step back. 8. "You're really calling the cops on your wife?" "Ex-wife," I corrected. 7. She spun around, storming back toward the car. "You'll regret this. I didn't even look up from my phone. You said that last time." Still waiting. She climbed into the car, slammed the door, and peeled out of the driveway. I watched until the car turned the corner and disappeared completely. The silence afterward was perfect. The kind that comes when every loose end finally cuts itself off. Inside, I poured a cup of coffee and looked around the house, my house, and it hit me how different everything felt now. No pretending, no fake smiles, no double life humming beneath the surface. Just peace. I walked out to the porch and looked at the sunset stretching across the street. Cassandra had gambled everything, her marriage, her comfort, her image, on lies. And for a while, she'd almost convinced herself she could win. But the thing about liars is they never realize when the game's over. I didn't have to destroy her. I just stopped protecting her. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.